Hello and welcome to Clipping In. It's Wednesday, the 3rd of December. It's cold, it's clear, sunny of course. Seems like it's got easy mileage written all over it. Yes, today it's a ride of indeterminate length. See how I feel. But hopefully somewhere over 50 miles with a few interesting sights and tales to tell, of course. It was a reasonable frost overnight. I think it dipped down to about freezing. When I set off, 9:30ish, it was 3 Celsius. But I've seen one or two places in the shade that's still holding grass frost. But the clarity more than makes up for it, I think. Yesterday, Tuesday the 2nd, was my first day back on the bike after 3 weeks layoff with hip pain and inflammation. It's an old problem. One that I've spoken about on the channel before, so I'm not going to dwell on it excessively. So far this year, I've been laid up for 10 weeks with the hip trouble. So, yeah, it's not ideal, and it's painful when it happens, and it's worrying when it's at its worst. But, I spent nearly 8 years coming to terms with not being able to cycle at all due to it, so going from being an ex-cyclist who still wanted to be pedalling, if I can have 40 weeks a year where I am a cyclist, I'll take that. It's the glass 80% full rather than 20% empty mentality, isn't it? When I'm coming back from a bit of a layoff, this applies to either injury or a virus, I suppose. For a week or so, I'll restrict myself to rides built from smaller circuits so that you can bail out at various points. There's nothing worse than committing yourself to, say, one big 60 or 70 mile loop, and then at the halfway point, say you're out at Glossop, and you start then in pain and you think, oh no, I've got 30 miles to ride like this. Not great. Whereas if you're just patient and you build your rides from little loops, you can bail out if something feels painful or unpleasant. And that's why this, what I call the old Clifton Outside road race circuit, is ideal for me, because I'm never more than 4.5 miles from home, so I can put an hour in on this circuit, and if all's going well, I'll expand the circuit a bit more and head further out. And that way you can put, you know, if you're feeling good, you can keep riding to fill the time available. I prefer that just to build your confidence back up after a layoff. Well, I've had to take my gloves off. I just can't operate the camera with gloves on. I can't feel where the buttons are, I can't operate the camera clamp. I don't really know what I'm shooting. So, I've sacrificed the gloves. It's not that cold. There we go. Bare knuckle cycling. Just approaching Hartshead Church now. Mentioned before, that was one of Patrick Bronte's parishes before he moved out to Thornton and then later out to Haworth. Car behind, just back in a sec. I said in the intro, it's the 3rd of December, and that means we are now into Met Office winter. The Met Office say that winter begins on the 1st of December, meteorological winter, and they run it until the 1st of March. Now, I suppose what you could call astronomical winter, that begins on the 21st of December, runs through 21st of March. I always felt that definition of winter wasn't useful for a cyclist out on the roads. It feels far too late. And the idea of winter running until 21st of March, you know, when you used to start racing early March, you had to start livening up your training in February. So the idea of still being in winter right through to 21st of March, that just didn't add up for me. I much prefer the what you might call Celtic or Gaelic definition of winter. Taking Samhain, which lines up with what we now know as Halloween, 31st of October. The Celts thought of that as the start of winter, the start of the dark times, the darker half of the year. And for a people who were far more integrated into the natural environment than us modernists, that makes perfect sense to me. Beginning with Samhain, and then they'd run that through until the Festival of Imbolc, which is typically 1st of Feb. Things are getting lighter, the days are lengthening again. They've gone through that dark phase. So as a cyclist, yeah, I always found myself in sympathy with Celtic, Gaelic definition of winter. I think we should campaign for that. Cycling winter, Celtic, Gaelic winter. Oh, and before anyone accuses me of cultural appropriation, I am 25% Celtic. So, if I'd have been any good, I could have played international football for Scotland. The call never came, but I'm still waiting. Just dropping into Cleckheaton now for a little bit of new ground for the channel. Just careful, it's here. We're going to head through Cleckheaton and climb Spen Bank. Quite a hill actually. And as far as I'm aware, and I should be aware, it's not being filmed for the channel. Right. So these are, we're in the centre of Cleck now. And over there where it says Chinese restaurant on the right, that used to be a fish and chip shop for years. And an old runner in the Spenborough AC told me that that was owned or run by Terry Yorath's parents-in-law. Now, Terry Yorath was an international footballer for Wales, and he also played for Leeds United for quite a long time. So his wife's parents had a fish and chip shop there. I hope that's true. And Terry Yorath, his daughter, Gabby Yorath, better known now as Gabby Logan, is a big sports presenter on British TV. Right, across here, you can see there's a sign that says 12.5%, 400 yards. There you can see ahead, it looks quite intimidating. I'm going to get on a real tiny gear. I don't want to strain anything. But you know, if you're in good form, it's a grand hill to really get stuck into. Crux section is at the bottom. Once you get past where the old railway used to cross, it does ease quite a bit. Still solid 12–13%. Probably a bit steeper. And now it just keeps dragging now all the way up to Gummersall. It'll be interesting to look at something like Strava for a GPS plot of this hill, because it's kicking again now. Right, that's better. It's funny, the last 25 miles or so, it's been all big chain ring on that Clifton Hartshead circuit. Just the one motorway climb. I think that's 50 by 19 nowadays. Does 50 by 19 count as a big ring? I think it does. It's 53:21, isn't it, in the old ratios. Well, I wasn't going to try Spen Bank on a 50/19. Again, I mean, you could get a real gear going now if you wanted to, but I'd choose not to. So we're on the A58 at the moment, heading from Dridlington towards Farmley, and there's an old building just on the left there that's Dridlington Cooperative Society. I don't know the age, I don't know the history of it, but there is, I thought, an equally old co-op in Dridlington itself near the crossroads. So that's something there to have a look into. I used to come on, roll it, roll it. I used to come on this road an awful lot in the 80s because my grandma lived in South Leeds, but I don't remember the co-op that I've just pointed out. So quick stop, have a look at the view. No, not the bike. The city of Leeds. You can see the skyscrapers. The sun is falling in such a way that to the left of the skyscrapers there's a standalone white tower. That's the Parkinson building at Leeds University, which is at the top side of the city, not far from Woodhouse Moor. There's always something being built You can see the cranes and the construction work. I passed some of those skyscrapers earlier in the year when I did a ride along the Leeds-Liverpool Canal. So we're roughly panning northwards. Kirkstall Abbey will be sitting on the other side of that wee hillock where the blocks are. And that would be roughly Airedale. This winter, I'm trying to drink more. I don't mean pints of Guinness or single malt. I mean when I'm on the bike. When it's warm, summer temps, 15 Celsius and above, I don't have any problem drinking. I'll drink as much as I can carry, or as much as is supplied. But generally, once it drops into below 7 or 8 C, my drinking impulse just disappears. I think because in the old days I've had rides where the bottles are frozen, or they've been the consistency of slush puppy, and if you do manage to drink it, you get stomachache. So I've always tended to underdrink on winter rides and then get dehydrated, quaffing pints of tea upon getting home. I'm trying to change that this year. I'm trying to drink a minimum of 400 ml per hour on these rides. So today, yeah, I've got 1.6 litres in the cages, 2 800 ml bottles, and I'm on target for draining those inside 3.5, 340, something like that. So that's on target. That's good. I'm a good boy. It's interesting, just because the thirst impulse changes and just because the ambient temperature is colder, hydration remains vital. I know this from mountaineering days, mountaineering environments. You can dehydrate to the same extent almost as you would at summer, but you just don't feel the need to drink. You've got to force it. I think that's a topic for another time. Maybe there's a fireside chat video in that. If you've ever had an enforced break from cycling, not through choice, maybe due to injury, illness, health circumstances, or maybe general life commitments and life circumstances, and all that time that you're out you think, oh, I'd love to be able to go out again and ride for 50 or 60 miles pain free and enjoy it and see the sights, but you're not able to. And then eventually maybe you're lucky enough that you do make a comeback, like me, at greatly reduced physical capabilities, but you take it and you get back into that groove that you're riding 50, 60, 70, and you're back out in the hills, and yeah, you're integrating with landscape once more, and you think, wow, this is fantastic. Now I remember. But when you're doing that, remember that feeling. Remember that feel-good factor that I often talk about. And then, often, you'll see people out on the road, or on social media nowadays, even on YouTube, who are faster than you, fitter than you. They ride further. They maybe rack up these ambitious big projects, putting together fantastic highlights reels and greatest hits compilations. They might even look better than you on a bike, They might have more panache in their pedal stroke. But you think, okay, I'll concede all that ground. I'll give them all that. But one thing they won't beat me on is how much I enjoy my cycling. That feeling of coming back from a decent bike ride, a much happier, more complete person than when you set off. Haha, that's a win. And that's all yours. So just going to drop down Cliff Hollins Lane to Oakenshaw. A nice unparalleled panorama of the Pennines. So there we have it. Another ride in the bag, 3.5 hours, however many miles, over 50 I hope. But the main thing, that's 2 rides in 2 days. Oh, it's getting serious, isn't it? So once my fingers recover from the frost nip, I should hopefully be back out with another edition of Clipping In. Back out on the Yorkshire roads. Bye bye.